Hey guys, this is a video comparison of my Alienware m17x R2 and my brand new Alienware m18x. Now I'd like to start off with going over the size comparison of the two systems. The m17x obviously is a 17-inch laptop, whereas the m18x is an 18-inch laptop. Now, on YouTube, I have not seen any video comparisons of the m17x R2 compared with the m18x, and I thought this might be a good source of information for anybody who wants to compare the two but has not seen any pictures or videos of the two computers next to each other. So I thought I'd start out with showing the size difference here. As you can see, the m18x is a little bit taller and is definitely wider. There's about an inch difference there. In terms of the other direction, they are about the same. It's hard to tell, but I think they're exactly the same in that aspect. The quality, the build quality. They're both made out of solid aluminum. The m18x has a rubber grip in the back, which is a really nice touch, because on my m17x it's just a really cheap, flimsy plastic that you can't even really grip that well. And I always thought that was really cheap for a laptop that is $4,000. The paint, the quality of the paint on the m18x is absolutely amazing. I'm sure you can't see it on this camera because this is a really cheap digital camera, but the quality in the paint on the m18x versus the m17x, it's not even a fair comparison. This just blows it away in terms of the quality of the paint. The Nebula Red I would definitely suggest unless you really don't want to stand out. If you get the black one, it's not going to be this shade of black. This is like a really dark black on the m17x R2. You would actually get more of a gunmetal color if you select black for the m18x. Another thing I want to touch on is the alien head on the lid. On the m17x, it stays on all the time when the computer is on, and you can change the color of it. On the m18x, it is off when you close the lid, and when you open the lid, it is only white. You cannot change the color. I'm not sure why Alienware decided to do this, but I think it was a really great idea to have it be able to change color and always be on. I don't particularly like their choice of that, but I can't change anything about that. Onto the inside of the systems. Obviously, they're pretty much the same. You got the lights in the grills, the trackpads light up, the keyboards light up, everything lights up. Only differences are the macro keys on the m18x. You have 5 macro keys and then a button up here to select between 3 groups. So you have 15 total, and when you do that, it changes colors so that you know which group you're in, and that's a nice touch. These buttons up here for the volume, the audio controls, the eject button, Wi-Fi, Alien FX. That is a great improvement over the m17x, where it was tiny little touch-sensitive buttons that I always seem to press by accident. I always seem to press more than one because they're so small that my finger actually sometimes covers more than one. I never liked these tiny small buttons, and I think it's really good that they've upgraded to something like this, where it's physical buttons that are very hard to accidentally press, and it's a lot easier to distinguish each one, and they each have a different shape, and it's a lot better. The touchpad. The touchpad on the m18x is phenomenal. Not only is it bigger than the M18X. The lighting around it is brighter, and it has two separate buttons. These buttons are great. They are easy to press. On the M17X R2, it was one single bar, and you couldn't press it right here without giving a lot of pressure on it. If you wanted to tap lightly, you had to hit way on the edge, and that was very annoying and was not comfortable to use. I really disliked that. What else? The quality of the parts that they use, just the way that the system feels. On the palm rest and around the sides here, it is a soft touch rubbery texture. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It kind of feels like leather, a mixture of leather and rubber. This is very nice because on the M17X, it's just cheap plastic. It is cheap plastic all around the system, and it just makes the whole computer feel like it's maybe worth $500 at most. This is very nice, very luxurious, feels expensive. Around the keyboard there is a shiny, smooth, black plastic. Doesn't sound cheap when you hit it. It's got more of a thump to it, not that loud tick that you get there. On the top here, you have, you probably can't see it on this camera, but it's brushed aluminum for this top metal piece right here. That is also a very nice touch because on the M17X, again, just the cheap plastic. The styling, I really like what they did with the grills. Again, kind of boring, kind of just boxy, regular grills, not really that big. On the M18X, they have this elegant swooping design. They're about twice the size, and it just looks better. The whole system as a whole has a more elegant, more refined, more expensive look to it, and it feels like it's solid. The M18X just feels solid, while the M17X kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's worth the amount of money that I paid for it. As far as performance goes, my M18X, I don't know if you can see that. My camera won't adjust in. I have an Intel Core i7 2960 Extreme running at 2.7 gigahertz, overclocked to 4 gigahertz. I have 8 gigabytes of RAM running at 1600 megahertz, and I have dual ATI Radeon 6990 graphics cards. Each have 2 gigabytes of memory. On my M17X R2, I have an Intel Core i7 920 Extreme processor. Normally runs at 2 gigahertz. It overclocks to 3.2 gigahertz. I also have 8 gigabytes of RAM in this system. The graphics cards, I have dual ATI Radeon HD 5870s, each with 1 gigabyte of graphics memory. Now, between the CPUs and these systems, I haven't been able to see much of an improvement or a difference. But then again, I don't run CPU-intensive programs or games. As far as the graphics cards go, I have seen a vast improvement. The only game I've been able to install so far on my M18X is Resident Evil 5. I ran a benchmark on both systems, and I got roughly about an average of 30 frames per second more on the M18X compared to my M17X. And both of these systems are maxed out, and both of these systems were running the game at their max settings. So the M18X, about 30 frames per second more on average in the game. So much better performance than the M17X, which is to be expected. Sound quality was something that really blew me away. I'm not sure what speakers are in the M17X R2, but I used to think they were the best speakers in a laptop until I listened to the M18X. The M18X has speakers provided by Klipsch Audio. There's 2 speakers in the front, and if I turn this over, there is a subwoofer right in there, and it gives a lot of bass. I never noticed how much treble there was in the m17x until I got to the m18x. It is a mix of treble and bass, and it makes the listening experience way better. Just go over the undersides real quick. The battery is in the same place on both. The battery on the m18x is almost as big as my hand, whereas the one on the m17x is smaller. The vents on the m17x appear to be twice as big. If I take my hand here, they're about twice as big. I'm not sure why that is, being as the m18x is more powerful. I feel like it would have bigger vents, but the heat sinks, the 3 heat sinks in the back, are twice as big as the 3 heat sinks on the m17x. So that could make up for the difference in the vent size. The nameplates, of course, right in the middle. That's very nice. The ability to clean all the fans is very easy on the m18x. You take the battery out, 4 screws, and then this pops forward and comes off, and you got your fans right here. You can unscrew those, blow out the heat sinks to get all the dust out, put everything back together. Really simple. M17x, you have this piece right here to get to the CPU fan, but to get to the GPU fans, you have to take off the keyboard and a whole bunch of other stuff. So cleaning is a lot easier on the m18x. One last thing I'd like to go over are the ports. You have a Blu-ray slot drive. I opted for the Blu-ray. You can get CD, DVD. There's a express card slot. There is 2 USB ports, eSATA USB combo, and HDMI in, which I have been using recently, and I think that is a very good addition. What you can do with that is you can hook up an Xbox 360 with an HDMI cable into this slot, and that will let you use the computer's screen and the speakers as a TV. And there's no buttons you have to press. When you hook up the cable and you turn on your 360, the computer will automatically switch between the two. And when you turn the 360 off, it will switch off and go back to the desktop. It's very nice. I also forgot to mention you have your SD card slot right here for digital cameras and stuff. On the back, all you have is the power cable and the vents. Very nice. Nothing gets cluttered up there. On the left side here, Kensington lock port, Ethernet, VGA if you want to hook up to an old screen or an old projector, HDMI out so you can hook up to a TV, mini display port, 2 USB 3.0 ports, an SP diff, microphone, and 2 headphone jacks. Now, I got my m18x as a replacement for this m17x, which is broken at the moment. So I am going to have to send this back to Dell, and this will be my new computer. Now, if I had to choose between the two, I would obviously go for the m18x, not only for the power, but because it looks better, it has better build quality, everything about it just screams that it's built better and it's worth more money, and it just seems like it's worth the price tag of the system. I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but now that I see both side by side, the m17XR2 just feels kind of cheap because of the quality of the parts that they use to build it. Just the cheap plastic, the way it looks. Excuse me. It's just, I don't know, it kind of let me down all of a sudden. they've gone above and beyond with this m18x compared to the m17x R2. But I'm not saying that the m17x R2 is a bad computer. If you are in the market for a used m17x R2, it is a great computer, and it will still play almost every single game at high or max settings with no problem. And it still will turn heads, and it's still a very, very powerful, fast computer. But if you had the choice, and if I had the choice, hands down, I would pick the m18x. It is just higher quality, more powerful, looks better. It just all around, it is a better computer. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful to some people, because I knew that I needed a video to compare the two and there was not one. So, thanks.